All right, so let's do favorite top 10 favorite arcade games of 1985. Really good year for arcade games. A lot of my favorite games in this year too. All right. So to start off, let's see, off the top of my head, to start off, I really like Section Z by Capcom. You don't only have horizontally scrolling levels, but you also have it's a shooter, um, or shmup, as a lot of people like to call them. You have horizontal scrolling levels, and then you also go the opposite direction, and also vertical. You go up and you go down as well. So it's um, really cool, unique shooter for the time. I also have to put the original Gradius on here. Another really cool shooter. Both of these came out in late 1985. But yeah, the original Gradius, the original and Section Z, both really cool, innovative shooters for the time. That's Konami, of course. Gradius, called Nemesis in Japan. I like saying Nemesis more than Gradius. But let's see. What would the others be? Um, I think the two arcade Spelunkers came out in '85. I think they both came out in '85. I'm gonna put those on there. Those are really fun, like arcade platformers. I'm just gonna put them all both as one because they're very similar. I think the second one just adds some extra to the first one. Those are really good. The IREM, the ones released by IREM in the arcades. So I'm gonna put that in my top 10 too. And I like the Gauntlet games, but I'm not gonna put Gauntlet on here. So let's see. I'm gonna put Sky Kid on here by Namco, another late '85 game. Later in that year, love Sky Kid. Um, that'll be my fourth. And let's see, fifth one. I think Sega's Space Harrier. That is such a cool game. Um, I don't think there was anything. There wasn't anything like it at the time. Um, Nihon Busan did have 84's Tube Panic. That's a really cool like 3D sprite scaler too, but I didn't put that in my 84 list. I guess I could have. Um, but definitely check that one out too if you like Space Harrier. Tube Panic actually came. That came before it. What were some other games like that? Like right before Space Harrier, Tube Panic, and um, well, you had like Williams Blast. You had Blaster by Williams. You had Atari's iRobot. Um, sure, there are a couple. There's probably a couple other things, but yeah. Anyway, Space Harrier for sure. That takes is that the fifth spot? Yeah, the fifth spot. So let me see. So the sixth spot, I think I'm gonna put Motos in there by Namco. How do I explain this game? It's unique. It's like kind of reminds me of like bumper cars in space. You're like this little. I think it's like maybe a ship, but you're on like platforms in space, and you're like bumping your enemies while they're trying to bump you off of the grid or platforms. I love that game. Very unique. I think it's one of the well, it's definitely the most unique, one of the most unique games to date from that era. Because I can't think of any other games similar to that. And like the whole of the decade of the 80s, like there's got to be there's kind of reminds me a little bit of like Marble Madness in some ways. It's not a game like Marble Madness at all, but like just the I don't know, something about it. But yeah, Motos. Check that game out if you haven't and you love classic arcade games. If you haven't played that one, that's a must. That's a must. And I got yet another Namco game on here. It's VS Battle City. It's on the Nintendo VS system. I don't think it was its own. It was a separate arcade game. I think it was on the VS system. It is an arcade game, but it's on that particular arcade system. Battle City. And it's on the Famicom, and I had it on. I had a lot of fun with this game back in the day. I had it on a multi-cart, so I had the game growing up. So Battle City is a really cool take on like the old school like arcade tank style games, like it like it has like elements of like the Atari's combat and there's an original Battle City by Namco and from the early '80s. It's not as good as this one. This is the good one. The VS Battle City. It's like an updated version of that. You're shooting other tanks and trying to protect like your base before the other tanks shoot it, and then you die. Either you got to protect your base, and it's a very cool game. I love it. So that's number 7. A lot of Namco games on here so far. And the next game, number 8, is a little bit different. It's called Repulse, and it's by Crux. And I think those guys went on to form Tailplan, like the arcade company Tailplan, famous for all their shooters, classic shooters. So, but Repulse is a really cool game. This is also another like 3D-ish environment, but it's not scrolling. It's single. Well, it's almost single screen. You can move it the screen a little bit. I think from left to right, just a little bit. But that is a really cool game. So like 3D style, not polygonal, but sprite based shooter. It's a space shooter style, shooting like aliens and UFOs and stuff that are coming at you. That's a great game. So yeah, that's number 8, Repulse by Crux. Okay, number 9 is a Sega game. So we have 2 Sega games I think in here so far. It was Space Harrier was the first one. Teddy Boy Blues. It's actually the first game Alex Kidd starred in. It's basically Alex Kidd, the Alex Kidd character. He's called Teddy Boy, I guess, in this early game. It's like it's a platformer. It's like a run and gun platformer, like, and you're just going around shooting a whole bunch of crazy and funny looking bad guys, like of all different weird varieties. And everything like bounces around everywhere, and kind of like an arena based run and gun platformer. You're not scrolling to an end of a level. You're like all around the stage. You can go up and down and left and right, and yeah, I like Teddy Boy Blues. Sega at this time making all kinds of innovative, creative, amazing arcades games. In the 80s, like throughout the 80s, everybody knows that, right? Sega and Namco Really, all these arcade companies are, but like Sega and Namco, definitely two of my all-time favorites, favorite companies. Period. For gaming. Okay, so is that number nine? Okay, that's number nine. Okay, I'm gonna put another Konami game on there. This is from '85. It's a lesser known Konami game. It reminds me of like Transformers. It's called Finalizer Super Transformation. I believe that's what it's called. It's a vertical. It's an overhead shooter. You start as a ship, but you transform into like a mecha type character. Um, I forget what else you can. You probably transform into other things too. Probably, I forget. I don't know. I thought that game was kind of cool, so I'm putting it on the list um, for my um, for my top 10 arcade games of 1985, and I would love to know everyone else's as well. I will come out. I want to do. I got a couple more years I want to do. I want to do 92 and 93 still, and maybe I'll do some of the other, like the earlier 80s years too. I should, since I love the 80s games so much. So I would love to know everyone else's top 10 arcade games of 1985, and I will be back with more retro gaming videos soon.